Hey guys, and welcome back to the Citadel with me, Daniel M. And this is the top 4 game of the cut. On the left hand side we have got Dan G, who we've seen in a previous round playing his Martel Rose, against on the right Joe Zimmer playing his Stark Fealty, who we saw in just the last video. So finally a game without Daisy. God, he's a douchebag, isn't he? I know you're listening, Daisy. This will be an interesting matchup. If Joe can get set up this time, his Winterfell and his Catelyn will help him out quite a lot in this matchup, but Dan, as we've seen, has a lot of tricks that work outside of challenges. So for example, Marjorie, as you can see in setup, is going to boost strength of characters outside of a challenge, or Ariane is going to jump characters in and out outside of challenge as well. So he's still got a lot of his tricks available to him. What it does shut down is it shuts down his tie-in, but he can still use Nymeria outside of the challenge as well. Getting a Knight of Flowers, a Marjorie and a Rose Road, so a lot of...
Ready? I am ready. Yeah, I think you like them.
And the guys just switching around the plot cards just so I can see it a little bit more easily, which is really nice of them. So he's got a lot of Tyrell characters out, and opening long plan, which I really like, sets you up for the long game. Joe putting pressure on, playing March to the Wall, getting rid of that Marjorie, which I like. Marjorie, especially when you've got the Knight of Flowers out, can cause you a lot of hassle. And Joe has got a King's Road and a Fast Eddie out, so he's set up with a really nice character, really big body there. I was talking to Dave Bamford the other day, and it's his use of it that of Fast Eddie that I really like. A lot of people you see right from the beginning try and use Fast Eddie with another character to get power on, to get that double renown effectively. But as Dave has said, to me personally, and I think possibly on the show, I can't remember, but he said he's just a really good defender. He's 6 strength on a power of military challenge, just to defend, to just basically go, nope, you can't win your power challenges, or no, that's enough strength to defend with, to prevent, puts the sword normally. Dan's done his marshalling, got out a I think it's a Gaston Grey there at the bottom, and one half of Tweedledee and Tweedledum, who, as we all know already, I swear word hate. Yeah, no, I fucking hate them. Just because they're so irritating to play against. Joe into his marshalling, getting out a reducer location to get out of Winterfell Steward. So, one of the things I like about this matchup is what we're not going to see is we're not going to see Tywin or Miri just punching each other in the face. We're going to see kind of more mid-range characters, maybe possibly a wider board, trying to apply pressure with some interesting challenge math. The interesting thing is the match that we saw with Joe previously was really aggressive, whittling down his opponent's board. But all the matches that I saw on the day with Dan, his deck is quite aggressive. He's not got a lot of military challenge and not got a lot of military icons and military pressure. But what he does have is he's got a lot of tiers, a lot of tie-in. He's playing House Floor at night, dropping it in to kill the lowest strength character. So he's got a lot of tricks to whittle down the opponent's board. So I think this game might be determined by who can apply the most pressure early, and if the other person can play defensively enough to get back in the game. So see what happens. So Dan doing his first challenge, doing a military challenge with Tweedledee, and just thinking about what they're going to do. Obviously, Dan's thinking behind this is, if I get the challenge through, I've whittled down his board, but if he defends it to win, I'm going to get gold, which I'm going to get to carry into the next round, so he can potentially have quite a lot of gold running into maybe a first copper's turn, or even into a 2-claim plot potentially if he's running one. Which is why I really like long plan first turn. So Joe's gone, yeah, I don't mind giving you the gold, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get renown on defense. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I suppose Joe is protecting his Winterfell steward. I'm not sure it's necessarily that vital to protect it this early on. Dan's going to do a power challenge with the Knight of Flowers, going to get unopposed and going to get renowned. Obviously no claim yet. I'm going to leave himself quite open to attack. However, he has obviously knelt out quite steady, but Joe is still going to get all 3 challenges off with Tumblestone Knight, Caitlyn and Arya Stark. So just going to do a small military challenge with a Tumblestone Knight, which is going to go through unopposed. And obviously, by doing that military first, he's forced Dan to kill off his Chud, leaving with only 2 characters, and now he can't defend the power challenge. So by being quite aggressive there, using the Knight of Flowers offensively, Dan has left himself very open. He's going to lose the intrigue challenge because of Caitlyn. Try to trigger his plot, but obviously Caitlyn prevents that trigger. By being so aggressive, yes, he has left himself open, but obviously talking about his plot, by leaving himself open and kind of going, come on, attack me, let me lose those challenges, he's just accruing that gold, which is going to set him up for the next turn. So, in fact, I do quite like that play, being quite aggressive on that long plan turn. Yes, you do take it to the face, but you accrue that gold, and obviously he's going to win dominance because of that gold he's earned. So we are on 2 power Dan and 4 power to Joe. So Joe really did take advantage of those unopposed challenges, getting power, and as we all know with Stark, if you don't keep them in check, they can accrue power very quickly to a real power rush. I'm pretty sure I just saw Dan choose counting coppers, so he's going to refill his hands and use that 3 extra gold to have a very nice turn, especially with the economy locations he's got already. Just a quick word, Joe obviously used fast steady there on defense in that previous turn. I wasn't sure how I felt about it at the time, but realising that obviously Dan has got the Gaston Grey in play, I think using that fast steady just on defence to accrue power, not using him offensively so that he can be bounced back to hand, is a good call. So, both getting some card draw. Joe in the form of a summons, going to select the character he wants, and Dan is just going to pull some more cards. What I really want to see from Dan is I want to see Nymeria, which I think I can see in his hand, as well as a King's Road, so he's going to be able to play her, because I've also seen a Tears of Lys, and if he can use Nymeria to strip Caitlyn's intrigue icon, he can then Tears either Fast Eddie or Caitlyn, and that's going to put him in a really, really good position.
Wildfire got dropped for snow so much.
Joe playing some mind games with his opponent. Just saying that Wildfire got dropped for first snow. Whether we believe him or not is another matter. So Dan just saying obviously he's drawn his 3 and he's just going to draw 2 more. So he has a fist full of cards. That is something you don't often see in second edition. Sorry, with that number of cards in hand. So, interesting plot choices so far. We haven't seen anything like a trading, which I really like. We've just seen, especially on the Martel side, we've seen quite an interesting plot line, which I like. And, Joe getting out a duped Rob. So he's, by going first now, he can kneel out his board and dictate Dan's challenge order. Because unless you want your opponent to stand all their characters, unless you want your opponent to stand up all their characters after they've hit you in the face with them all, you have to do your military last, and then they're going to win dominance anyway. So Rob really making you dictate your challenge order and change the way that you want to do your challenges. Playing up that King's Road, and getting Ariana onto the table. So as I said, I think I've seen Nymeria in his hand, and that Ariana is going to mean he's going to get double use out of that 5 gold he spent. And he's going to hold on to 3 gold. My imagining is that 3 gold, he's thinking, I can see that Tears of Lee still, we can see a Vengeance in his hand. He's probably thinking, if I can Vengeance, I suppose he wants to maybe Vengeance the military challenge so that he doesn't lose another character. He's going to use it defensively rather than offensively, and then maybe try and Tears Eddard or Caitlyn. This is quite an interesting point. If he does get Nymeria out, the call whether you Tears of Least the Caitlyn, so that you shut down that cancel that kind of prevention of the Tears, or whether you Tears Fast Eddie and the big characters. Long term, I think Caitlyn is always a good target early, because it's going to enable you to do more long term. However, if Fast Eddie or Rob get enough power on them, I think Tearsing them is going to be the better shout. So we'll see what decisions Dan decides to make. He has now got Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I'm pretty sure he got them in pretty much every game. Really, really nice. He has shown which icons each of them has by giving the top character, Tweedledee, we'll call him, the green, and giving Tweedledum the little blue power icon, just to make it really clear what icons they've got. That's a really nice, clean board state, which I really like to see. It makes my job a lot easier. So we can already see kind of Joe's got 6 characters on the board. We can see why he probably would have dropped Wildfire, though he would be hit by quite hard by First Snow right now. Would hit Dan harder, obviously, because he would still have Caitlyn, Rob, and Eddard, and obviously he can either choose to use the dupe on Arya if he wants. So Joe would still have the better board position. If Dan is wearing a Wildfire, it might hurt Joe right now. So I would assume he would keep Rob, Eddard, and Caitlyn, which would mean Arya would die. But with Tweedledee and Tweedledum on the board, I can't see Dan wanting to Wildfire anytime soon, because they're going to let him just defend as much as he wants. I think my issue with Tweedledee and Tweedledum, left and right, sorry, is less founded in their innate strength, just being 2 strength or 3 strength if you've got both on the board. Being able to defend military for 6 is great, but it's when you play them alongside cards like A Song for Summer, when they are then 4 strength each, so you're defending military for 8, intrigue for 4, power for 4, just without even kneeling anything, means that for your opponent you can play so defensively that it becomes really difficult at times. But let's see how this goes. Doing a power challenge for 8 with Fast Eddie and Arya, stealthing Tweedledum. You can see the guys there cheering away. One of the lovely things about our Northampton meta tournaments at our store is I do provide sweets for everyone. So come on down. Our next one is on the 17th of July. Wargames workshop in Northampton. So if you see this in time, you should come on down. There'll be sweets, lots of friendly people. I mean, we just had a game night kit that was on a Tuesday evening, really kind of just our local club, just quiet evening, and we had 16 players turn up. We had a couple of people travel to come see us for the first time, a lot of new players, so come on over to us. 17th of July, it's a Sunday. We'll be starting first round about 10:30. Registration opens at 10, so come on down, have some games, have some fun. So carry on with our challenges. That power challenge was defended with Ariane, so Ariane has now been used, and we're going to wait and see what happens when and if she gets bounced out.
Take one off and you're going to use it. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, so it didn't. Sorry, Ariane has. Joe then passed. Ariane has done a power challenge, which he won. Bouncing in Nymeria, doing the intrigue challenge with Nymeria, having taken Caitlyn's intrigue icon. Joe is now feeling the pain, and he chooses to poison Caitlyn. I really like this, especially as Caitlyn currently has the attachment on her, which is increasing her strength, because Joe was obviously didn't want to lose out to Tears. And she is going away. Unfortunately, Joe doesn't have any money either, so that attachment isn't going to get to move to anyone else before she dies. So Dan has effectively got rid of Caitlyn and gotten rid of Lady, which is I'm pretty sure what that attachment is.
Okay, win. Yeah, claim.
Doing a military challenge there. Normally I don't like to see the military challenge done after the intrigue. They're just going to kill the character you tiered anyway. However, it's not terrible there because what happens is he needs to get the intrigue challenge through. I suppose the other characters standing wouldn't have been a huge issue from the military. He still would have been able to get the intrigue challenge through. But in that situation, he was obviously focused on getting that intrigue through, so he was just eager to get it done. And that military challenge managed to get power on the Knight of Flowers anyway, so he still got something out of that in return. So everyone stood back up and moving into the next plot phase. Oh, Song of Summer. So as I said, that Tweedledee and Tweedledum are going to be really painful there, and it's the Long Winter. Joe is telling Dan he had to discard a power. However, because Dan has revealed a summer plot, he shouldn't. So quite a nice little interaction. I think it's going to become much more relevant in the next couple of months when the next new cycle begins and we see Kings of Summer and Winter agendas. But for now, it's just every so often occurrence that you see. So Joe is there, had to discard a power, but his opponent hasn't had to. So that is obviously the downside of getting that extra gold on that plot. Getting Bran into play, allowing him to potentially cancel any more tiers that Dan has. So that might, or even the Vengeance Frelia that he wanted to play, because obviously he's still got that Vengeance in hand, and on a two claim plot, that is going to be really nice for him. But Bran is going to stupper that. So Dan has now got to tempt Bran off the board using something else, some way to get rid of that Bran before, so he can Vengeance. And Joe putting ice on Arya, like we saw in the previous game, which is going to let him kill a character. I'm guessing he's probably going to hope to get rid of Nymeria. However, the issue... Dan getting Tywin. The issue with ice against Dan's deck is, unlike Tywin and Miri, this Martel Rose deck doesn't rely on one big character. He has a lot of really efficient, really impactful characters in that middle of the curve, that 5 cost rate spot. And Dan getting out that dupe Tywin. So if Dan can keep Nymeria alive, she is going to wreck face with Nymeria and Tywin out on the board. My guess is, start of challenges, Dan asks if Joe's got any actions, and he's going to take away Arya's military icon straight away, making it very clear for us by giving her that little military icon. There's very useful little tokens there, especially when commentating on the game. So, absolutely right call. Nymeria has allowed Dan to neuter that ice, so that Arya is a 4 strength power icon. Not going to be much use with that. But I suppose that has allowed... so Joe's now in trouble. He hasn't got the intrigue icons to be able to defend against Tywin. Tywin can just swing by herself and start poisoning characters. So while that Bran might have scuppered any vengeance plans, Tywin is really going to start to hurt him. especially now that Catelyn's gone and we still haven't seen Winterfell. You can see there in the movements of Joe committing all those characters, being a bit more unsure now because he doesn't know what he's going to do.
5, 7, 13.
Doing a military for 13 because obviously all Dan's characters are increased in strength.
Oppose with these two, with her and with him. 15.
Going to oppose with all that front line of characters for 15.
Wait a sec.
Just doing a bit of maths, making sure he's sure about that.
Okay, you win.
So he wins and gets a power on the Knight of Flowers, so has stopped that military challenge, has stopped that 2 claim. So, but then has still got Tweedledee and Tweedledum to use offensively because obviously they don't need him. So just by kneeling 2 characters, Joe's had to kneel out 2 of his biggest characters and the Tumblestone Knight 3 characters, and nothing has happened effectively. Joe is going to do a power challenge with Arya, stealthing Tweedledum, and just going to let it go unopposed, so he's going to steal 2 power.
I paid 2 to have you pay the claim. Yep.
Oh. So, Joe there, Dan, sorry, doing Vengeance for Elliot, Joe cancelling it with Bran, and that was only on a power challenge. I'm not sure if that was the right use of Bran. It's effective use because he's now been able to stand all his characters, which has meant that he can defend these challenges. However, what it does also mean is that Joe's now got everything standing. So while he's got everything standing, he now doesn't have that Bran in case Dan had has another Tears of Lease for future rounds. So I think it's debatable that call with that tie-in on the board. I suppose you're not as worried about Tears of Lease because I suppose you have to kind of resign yourself that all your characters are going to die unless you find Winterfell. So Eddard got poisoned there. Dan is going to pass on all his other challenges because he can't get the renown off the Knight of Flowers, so there's no point doing that military because Eddard would just die anyway. And he would just lose the power challenge because Robb Stark was just defending, he'd get renown. So I think after a really, really strong opening there, Tyene and Nymeria have really put Joe on the back foot. And Dan has managed to control the board enough that he's just going to slowly apply that pressure. Dan playing Confiscation to get rid of that ice nice and quickly so that he doesn't have to use Nymeria to control Arya. I think he could wait to play that because obviously he can just steal the military icon from Arya and just control the board a bit more. However, getting rid of it as soon as possible is always a good shout. Just in case Joe had played Wardens of the North, is it, where you jump in a character? If you did a military challenge with Robb Stark, you could jump Arya into that challenge, which might put Dan in a bad position. So getting rid of ice is the right call, I think. It's the safe play. Collecting up their gold, just thinking about what they want to marshal. I think if Stark don't see that Winterfell, I do think they really struggle in this matchup. Winterfell, seeing Winterfell early against Martel, absolutely tips the matchup in Stark's favour. However, not seeing that Winterfell really puts them on the back foot. They don't have the intrigue icons to deal with that Tyene Tears of least threat, and all their big characters, their Robb Stark, their Eddard, their Greywind, as you can see right there, even their Blackfish don't have those intrigue icons, so they're all going to be dying to the that kind of tiny little girl who's going to poison you.
Damn you left and right, it's too strong now.
So Joe just cursing the nature of left and right, really scuppering his challenges. Dan using another King's Road to get Ariane back into play. Probably got more tricks in his hand that he's going to jump in. And I have to see how he uses it. So Joe has got another intrigue icon in the Maester, Lewin on the board. However, he's not going to be strong enough to do anything against the onslaught of that Martel horde, Martel Tyrell horde. As we saw in the latest episode, if this match is anything to go by, the next season of this TV show is going to be incredible with Elena there, with the bastards alive in a dorm. So, moving into challenges, Joe, despite being on the back foot, is on 10 power to Dan's 4. So, despite being behind on power, Dan really does, I think, have control of the board here. Joe has got a lot more characters. He's got more characters out. Has got a couple of higher cost characters, and Joe obviously cursing the fact that right and left Tweedledee and Tweedledum give each other 1 strength, which puts them above the band of Greywind, so he's not going to be able to use Greywind to kill them. So Joe doing, he's not sure yet. Is it military or power? Let's see.
Power for 7, stealth
Doing a
Flowers.
power challenge for 7.
Opposed with
Stealthing the Knight of Flowers, so he's going to probably win that. Unless Dan wants to commit quite a bit of his characters. So obviously he's going to defend with Tweedledum. Got that power icon there, not going to kneel. Just thinking about whether he wants to defend it with anything else. Joe obviously now thinking, recognise that threat of tying on the board and just going to try and push to the finish line, try and get as much power as quickly as possible here. See if he can rush out to the finish line. The only issue is that renown that is going to allow him to rush is also very vulnerable, and is to imagine that Rob Stark probably only has maybe 1 or 2 turns in him. Okay, so having done that power challenge, he's going to use Greywind to jump to eat his own reducer chud, stand everyone else up.
Okay. Steal the power. Intimidate tie-in.
Loses that military challenge, but Rob Stark with his dupe gets bounced back to hand. So Dan managing there to invalidate that dupe, so if Rob Stark does come back onto the table, he's going to be vulnerable because he's not going to have that dupe anymore. But that intimidate from Greywind has meant that he can kneel tie-in. So Greywind obviously ate the chud, stood everyone back up, including himself, and then did a military challenge. Dan only lost a little chud, but tie-in has been nullified for this round. Because she was nullified, I think, almost vengeance, very Martel theme there, went, well, fuck you, Rob Stark can go back to your hand. So, Joe has managed to buy his characters 1 more turn away from poison, but also lost himself his only other kind of real big character. So Joe says he's done, only 1 character kneeling, got the rest of them there standing, but I don't think they're going to stop down here.
Military.
So doing a military challenge for 7 with Tweedledee and Nymeria. For 7. Got 2 gold, so there's obviously the risk of the put to the sword if he only defends with the 2 from the tumblestone.
Yep. When people say that to me, I feel like
Dan, Joe asked if there was any reactions, obviously fearing that put to the sword. Dan looked through his cards just in case there was a put to the sword there, but unfortunately there wasn't. So no more death on the table just yet. Doing an intrigue challenge with Ariane, getting a knelt. Joe is going to defend that. And Dan is going to put a Tears. So despite kneeling that Tyene, there was another Tears there in his hand. So he's going to poison Greywind. So there's going to be no more tricks if Joe gets Rob back onto the table. But obviously there's only 2 cards there. Oh, and he manages to pull him. 50-50 chance there. Pulled Rob Stark out of his hand. So Joe now really on the back foot. That Gaston Grey let in. Oh, Gaston Grey let him get rid of that other character despite Tyene being up. And then he tears another character as well. Jumped in the House Flora Knight with Ariane, killed off the Chud, did a power challenge with the Knight of Flowers. So Dan now has jumped back up to 6 power. Joe has still got 9. Yes, Joe has still got 9 power, but his board has very, very rapidly been whittled down to 2 characters. Joe got a noble cause, so hopefully he's got another big character in his hand, but he doesn't get the reduction because Dan plays Forgotten Plans. Really nice little play there. I suppose what he was thinking is that he could, that Joe was probably going to play some sort of economy plot. If he played trading, Dan didn't mind. If he played noble cause, that does hurt him. But Joe still gets the 2 reduction using the reducer and his fealty, and he's going to put out the Blackfish and put Lady on the Blackfish. So that was unless he just pulled that Blackfish, which I don't think he did by playing that noble cause. I think he had Blackfish in hand. That was no matter what card Dan drew there, it was going to be a good one. Playing an Attainted on Lewin. Getting rid of that intrigue icon, I suppose it protects his own hand. Maybe gets him an unopposed. And it also means that Nymeria is free to just steal whatever icon she wants. I think this is maybe a good point to start using that Nymeria slightly more offensively, control what Joe can do, maybe let him do a challenge with Aya or the Blackfish and then steal the other's icon to limit what they can do. Stealing a military icon, I'm not sure who from though. We'll see which based on the challenge order here from Joe. So Dan played really well here, really controlled the board. While Joe kind of flooded the board, he managed to kind of not let it overwhelm him, not let him get off his ice or kind of any other key events, and has just put the pressure on with the Tears and the Tyene and the Nymeria. And this is what the Martel tricks can do. I think using that Bran to just cancel that Vengeance for earlier was maybe a real turning point of the game, because if he'd been able to use Bran on that Tears of Least, Greywind wouldn't have died, but I think the game was still turned at that point. I don't think there was a huge amount he could do to come back. Doing a power challenge with Arya and the Blackfish. Dan's just going to defend with Tweedledum, and Joe getting accidentally put it. I was confused there for a second. Accidentally putting 2 power on his house card, but he was putting one on his house card and 1 on Blackfish. So he's back on 11 power now. I think the Blackfish is going to die, and I don't think there's a huge amount from that point that he's going to be able to do. Doing the intrigue challenge with Tyene, poison the Blackfish, and I think at that point Joe concedes, just because he realises that there's nothing else he can do. While Dan is quite far away from winning, there's nothing he can really do to come back. Looking at the top cards of his deck, and it was just another attachment and a Winter's Coming, which wouldn't have done him any help, because the Blackfish was going to die. Only things there kind of play-wise that I'd really highlight is challenge order, if you'd done the military challenge and then done the intrigue challenge, you would have completely wiped Joe's board. By doing the intrigue challenge first, Joe was going to be left with a character on the board. Not a big thing, but something to maybe pay attention to. Anyway, guys, if you've got any comments for the players, please leave them below. Our next match will be our grand final between whoever won the other top 4 game and Dan Gallagher. So congrats to Dan to getting through to the final. In the next round, I'm going to have a special guest on, so I'll see you next Tuesday. Keep it friendly. Bye.